If I could make do with a $60 light, imagine what you could do when you find like a AI Prime HD used for like $150. Hey, what's up Reefers? Welcome to the budget 10-gallon tank build series. In this series, we're going to use the most basic aquarium equipment and we're going to build a Nano Reef. The reason we're doing this is because I understand that a lot of you guys are either new to this or thinking about getting into this, but is either intimidated by the cost or intimidated by the process. And by showing you guys that even using the most standard equipment, we can have a really successful reef tank. It is not as difficult or as expensive as you think it may be. So this kind of budget tank build is actually my bread and butter, because for the longest time I was in school, I did not want a large tank, and of course I want something I can tear down really quickly and without losing a lot of money. Today we're gonna go over the essential equipment for this nano tank build. First, we got obviously the tank. This is the really basic tank. I keep saying basic. This is the really standard 10-gallon tank from Petco. You can find it everywhere. It's measured 20 by 10 by 12. We got the rim going on. This tank is $14. This is a part I struggled a lot with because I hated rim tanks. Most of my tank are rimless. But in this case, I understand that a lot of people, when they start buying the first tank for reef tank, they may be limited to 10 gallon. And usually when you go 10 gallon, a lot of people go with the one rimmed. So I figured, all right, you know what? If I want this to be of the, I don't want to say the lowest denominator, but the lowest denominator, I should use a rim 10-gallon tank. This is like the most popular standard aquarium. So here we go, $14, 10-gallon tank. Now moving on a little bit, we're going to talk about the filtration. Well, in this case, it's not just the filtration, it's also the water movement. Because in a small tank like this, yes, you can throw in a power head like that, but one really unique thing about this nano tank is that you can actually throw on a hang on and back filter, and the water flow coming out of it is strong enough to provide water circulation for the entire tank, as you'll see soon. In the past, usually I'll buy a 10-gallon aquarium kit that will come with a tiny little filtration. Usually they're like this small, but in this case, because I want to turn the filter into a hang on the back refugium as well, I went oversized. This is a Aqua Clear 70. It's rated for up to like 40 to 70 gallon, I think. But for our case, we are using it for number one, water circulation. Okay, so I don't need another power head inside the tank. And number two, we're gonna use this for nutrient export as well, meaning that I'm gonna turn this into a refugium. There's a mod going around where I can cut up this material. This is actually the media basket that comes with the filter. I'm gonna cut up this material and gonna build kind of like a netting for the output, so the macroalgae does not flow out into the tank. And the cost of the Aqua Clear 70 is $50. Not bad, considering that you're gonna turn this into a refugium as well, and it's gonna provide flow for the entire tank. All right, let's move on to the light. Hipargero. Usually, if there's one thing that I would not skimp on a tank build, it's a light. I feel like that's one of the most important things in the entire system. But in this case, I want to be reasonable. At first I was like, okay, what if I throw on one of the many really nice lights that I have onto this tank? But that won't be fair, because we want to create a whole new build that is realistic for somebody who may be on a budget. So I thought, okay, all right, let's go online and we'll do some research and see what is really popular. So I posted on Instagram asking what light would you recommend if you were to do a 10-gallon build that is under $150. Many of you guys mentioned the Castle A80. You guys love that light.
That's what I got too.
Yep, Sally, Miss Average Reefer behind the camera, is laughing right now because that is what she got, and she made a fine choice.
Yes.
Instead of using that light again, I want to explore and see what else is out there. So one name came up a couple times. I took special interest because somebody mentioned that a lot of people on the Nano Reef forum actually recommend this light as well. So this light is the Aqua Night A29. So while searching for light, the Aqua Night name actually came up a couple times. The original name that people recommended is actually Hipargero. I can't pronounce it. Turns out, maybe Hipargero is a company, Aqua Night is a model. So that's kind of like a weird little side thing. Yeah, they're same lights. So the great thing about this light is how powerful it is. Overall, it's 30 watts total. And this is actually of interest as well, because the Castle A80 is 15 watts. That means that this light essentially double the power of the Castle A8. But quality of light is important as well. Just because the light is powerful does not mean you have a good reflector, you know? So I did a lot of research, and again, everybody is singing its praises. So I'm really intrigued by this $60 light that I found on Amazon. So here we have the spectrum of the lights. If you take a quick peek, and they actually have 2 separate channels that can be controlled by 2 touch sensitive buttons on top, which is impressive for a $60 light. I was like, what? It's touch sensitive for reals? So that is pretty cool. But for the most part, I believe I'm just gonna have it on full blast and on a timer, and that's essentially it. One issue with this light, if you look sideways, is that this is as short as the mount will go, and it's still kind of like a little bit too forward, too close to the front. It would be nice if I can move it back 1 inch or so, but unfortunately, with the way the mount is designed, I could not. So I'm gonna modify it. Probably gonna saw off maybe 1.5 inch or maybe just 1 inch of the metal plate. But I just want to show you guys how this light will look on a 10-gallon tank. So another thing you need to know about this light mount is that it is designed to be mounted on a rimless tank. With a rim tank, you need a block of wood or acrylic or something here for it to kind of lock onto. Otherwise, it's gonna tilt and it's gonna fall. It's just not gonna be stable at all. So I used the miter saw to cut up a block of wood to mount it on, and now it is pretty rock solid. Guys, you cannot believe what the hell happened. I thought some water would run off. I started trying to wipe it off. I realized it's actually cracked. So the back glass actually cracked overnight. I couldn't believe my eyes. I turned on the light. I double checked. So what I think happened, I gotta talk fast because I don't know what's gonna happen next. I want to drain the tank ASAP. But I want to show you guys first. So what happened is that the crack originated from this point right here. And as I mentioned earlier, I used a piece of wood. And you guys probably can guess what happened. Yes, the wood took on water overnight, expanded, and it creates so much pressure that, see how it's bulged out that much? The pressure cracked the glass. Fudge. So as you can see, it was bad, and I would hate for anybody to be falling along on this build, to unknowingly falling and use a wood block and crack their tank. I would feel terrible. So even though inserting this clip is gonna kind of throw things off a little bit, but I think that letting you know right away is more important than the storyline, so pardon this intrusion. So like I mentioned before, I was using a block of wood in order for the clamp to be able to clamp onto a rim tank. The problem is the block of wood absorbed water and expanded, and which in turn cracked the glass. So there are a couple possible solutions. Number one, find some way to mount the light so that if you're using wood, the wood is not sitting in the water. And a lot of people mount it to either the filter or they have a separate stand. So the other way is to kind of redo this, except for with some material that does not absorb water, namely acrylic. So this is where I really lucked out because I know somebody who's really handy. Jim at Telegram on Instagram. Because upon seeing this, I was like, hey, you know what? I can build you something. So he put together 2 pieces of acrylic and he added a sticking pad in the back. So I didn't even push it in yet, I just want to show you guys. I got this acrylic block right here and I'm just gonna push it in. And this is perfect. I didn't even have to screw it tight. So now I can screw it tight and with the confidence knowing that it's not gonna get waterlogged and expand. And in terms of measurement, in case you want to use acrylic or build something custom, let me just get that real quick. All right, I'm gonna try to do this one-handed. So lengthwise for that little unit is roughly almost 3.5 inches, slightly shy of it. And I'm gonna flip it over for the width. So the width is roughly about 1/2 inch. And you have some play here because you can use a screw to adjust. Once again, thank you so much, Jim. If you're like me, not a DIY guy, you know, hit Jim up. Maybe you can just buy one off him or something like that. All right, well, let's pretend this tank crack never happened, and then we're gonna go back to our regular programming. And finally, to wrap up all the life support essentials, I got a little heater right here. This is the Hydor, 25 watts, and we're gonna just put it in use. I mean, I had this, and I think this was about $20, so it's not something super expensive. So let's take a look at the whole setup in terms of cost. $14 here. We got $50 here. We got $60 here. We got $20 here. Quick, what does that add up to?
Huh? I didn't actually listen.
We got $14 here, $50 here, $60 here, and $20 here. Math.
146.
Are you just making things up?
I don't know. It might be.
Okay, maybe 146 according to Miss Average Reefer. This is a really affordable setup, and of course there are other costs that's going to come in. We're going to have some rocks, some sand, but in terms of actual essentials, equipment-wise, we're keeping it under $200. And this is actually a pretty respectable setup. You may be asking, hey, Inappropriate Reefer, why don't you just buy one of those like innovative marine all-in-one tank? It looks a lot cleaner. I agree. If I were to do it myself these days, right, I would probably go for an all-in-one tank for about like 200, 250. It looks a lot cleaner, things are tucked away. However, when I think like budget aquarium, I think of something that you kind of find pieces of and slap together. For example, filter like this. Maybe you got one laying around from your freshwater day. Or a tank like this. Maybe one of your buddies' turtle just died. You got an extra 10-gallon tank, rest in peace turtle. And a light like this, I mean, it's 60 bucks. If I could make do with a $60 light, imagine what you could do when you find like a AI Prime HD used for like $150. So I just want to show you what are the possibility with even just like a $140 setup that I kind of scrap up. These, for the most part, like freshwater parts, right? It's really only the light that's catered towards a reef tank. Everything else is kind of just, So today it's all about showing you the essential equipment. In the next video, I'm gonna modify the Aqua Clear 70 so that we have the refugium compartment. And then I'm gonna start adding sand into the tank as well as the rock into the tank. And I'm gonna tell you what kind of rock I picked and what kind of sand I picked and the reason behind them. All right guys, hope you enjoyed the budget 10-gallon tank series. Well, at the beginning of the series. Leave a comment with hashtag 10-gallon reefer if you've ever set up a 10-gallon reef tank in your life. See you guys next week. All right, so Miss Average Reefer is gonna attempt to lift this. I should take it home.